weren't being said for fear of repercussions. Still, I'd been writing as a feminist, and I hadn't sexually assaulted anyone. The whole thing seemed incoherent. According to our student newspaper, the mattress carriers on my campus were marching to the university president's office with a petition demanding a swift official condemnation of my article. One student said she'd had a very visceral reaction to it. Another called it terrifying. I'd argued that the new codes infantilized students and ramped up the climate of accusation, while vastly increasing the power of university administrators over all our lives. And here were students demanding to be protected by university higher-ups from the affront of someone's ideas, which seemed to prove my point. The president announced that he'd consider the petition. In retrospect, maybe it was short-sighted, but I hadn't actually thought about students reading the essay when I wrote it. Who knew students read the Chronicle of Higher Education? I'd thought I was writing for other professors and administrators. Despite the petition, I assumed that academic freedom would prevail. For one thing, I'm tenured, thank God, at a research university. Also, I sensed the students weren't going to come off well in the court of public opinion, which proved to be the case. Marching against a published article wasn't a good optic. It smacked of book burning, something Americans generally oppose, while conveniently illustrating my observation in the essay that students' assertions of vulnerability have been getting awfully aggressive in the past few years. Indeed, I was getting a lot of love on social media from all ends of the political spectrum, though one of the anti-PC brigade did email to tell me that as a leftist, I should realize that these students were my own evil spawn. Yes, I was spending more time online than I should have, though, in fact, social media was my only source of information about the controversy. No one from the university had thought to let me know I was being marched on. I wasn't teaching that quarter and was trying not to be around much. I first learned about the events on campus from a journalist in New York. Let me be the first to admit that being protested has its gratifying side. When the story started getting national coverage, I soon realized my writer friends were all jealous that I'd gotten marched on and they hadn't. I began shamelessly dropping it into conversation whenever possible. "Oh, students are marching against this thing I wrote," I'd grimace in response to anyone's "how are you?" I briefly fantasized about running for the board of PEN, the international writers' organization devoted to protecting free expression. Things seemed less amusing when I got an email from the university's Title IX coordinator informing me that 2 graduate students had filed Title IX complaints against me on the basis of the essay and subsequent public statements. This turned out to be a tweet. And that the university had retained a team of outside investigators to handle the case. There were various ominous warnings about keeping the matter confidential. Perhaps you're wondering how an essay falls under the purview of Title IX? The federal statute meant to address gender discrimination and funding for women's sports? I was wondering that myself, and continued to wonder during the 72-day investigation that followed. I'll have plenty more to say about the Title IX process, but the answer, in brief, is that the culture of sexual paranoia I'd been writing about isn't confined to the sexual sphere. It's fundamentally altering the intellectual climate in higher education as a whole, to the point where ideas are construed as threats. Writing an essay became creating a chilling environment, according to my accusers, and freedoms most of us used to take for granted are being whittled away or disappearing altogether. Sexual paranoia has converted the Title IX bureaucracy into an insatiable behemoth, bloated by its own federal power grab, though protests are few because, what are you, in favor of rape culture or something? Also, paranoia is a formula for intellectual rigidity, and its inroads on campus are so effectively dumbing down the place that the traditional ideal of the university, as a refuge for complexity, a setting for the free exchange of ideas, is getting buried under an avalanche of platitudes and fear. Speaking of dumbing down, and I don't wish to be unkind to either my accusers or my employers, but anyone with half a brain cell could have predicted my response to that Title IX letter in my inbox. An overpowering urge to blow the lid off it all. So shortly later, I wrote a second essay, this one about the Title IX investigation process and my experiences as an accusee. Respondent is the official term. No professor had previously gone public.